Congratulations, the override has been approved.
We are clearly a pro-choice city, have been and will continue to be a pro-choice city under this city council.
Abortion is evil and must come to an end.
Well, there has been weeks of heated debate in whether or not the city of Fresno should be the pass-through agency to disperse $1 million of state funding to a local Planned Parenthood that was secured by Assembly member Dr. Joaquin Arambula. But on Thursday, the city council secured the 5 votes to override Mayor Jerry Dyer's veto. Mike Carbasi was not present in the vote. Gary Bredefeld, the lone no vote. Mayor Dyer did issue this statement following that vote. Although I am disappointed in the veto override, it was not unexpected. I continue to believe that the city of Fresno is not the appropriate administrator of these funds. However, I respect the council's authority to override the veto, end quote. Assembly member Arambula issued this statement on Thursday, quote, I again sincerely appreciate the Fresno City Council's action today that ensures $9.5 million I secured in state funds. I will be allocated to the designated recipients, Arte Americas, Neighborhood Industries, and Planned Parenthood Marmonte. I'm proud to do what I can to support efforts in my district that improve equity and access, including in the areas of cultural arts, employment, training, and health care services for the poor and uninsured. So let's welcome back our panel, Bill McEwen and Fresno County Supervisor Steve Brandow here. So the mayor has not exercised his veto power too many times, but when he has, he's not been on the right side of things so far. So, Bill, I remember what you said in the beginning, in the last one, that you thought Miguel Arias is like this de facto mayor. Is that what happened here?
So I would say what you're seeing here is democracy in action, and the process worked. Mayor Dyer clearly is not a supporter of abortion, so he got to make a statement that reflected his conscience. Then the will of the council majority was put into play. So I don't see it as anything bigger than that.
You know, I'll bring this to you because I know where you stand on this, but Miguel Arias labeling Fresno as a pro-choice city. Is he right?
Oh, probably if you, yeah, I mean, here right in the middle of California, I think he's probably, that's probably accurate. I'll give him that. But what I wanted to say is, you know, in our last segment, we talked about Miguel Arias. Here in this segment, we're talking about Miguel Arias again. Mm-hmm. So this is what Miguel does. There were 4 other council members who also voted yes. Yes. But, you know, he just loves, you know, he loves the camera, loves the media. And so that's why I think Bill says, you know, he's like the de facto mayor. He gets out in front on every issue, makes his statement. In this case, he had a big loss on Wednesday, rebounds on Thursday with defeating the veto, and wants to go out there and make sure he's in front of it again, and puts puts a little rub to the mayor on it as well.
I'll just say he doesn't love us that much. He's not sitting here, so
right.
He can't
yes,
love me
we asked
that
him
much.
to be here, right? You asked him to be here.
Well, yeah. No,
well, he's a little afraid when you get to an intellectual debate.
Yeah, and the public stuck with us because those guys don't have the guts to show up. They should be answering the questions. And who is it again that decided not to show tonight or today?
Yeah, well, Mike Carbasi didn't vote. I mean, is that, I know he said he had a family emergency, but he didn't vote on the first time. He was absent in that one, doesn't vote on this one. Is that avoiding the vote?
That'd be a good question to ask.
Yeah, it'd be a good question
you need to ask him that. Yeah. Smells a little fishy, right?
I want to move on to this because we're, again, this week as we move forward to this, it's going to mark the 2 months until we're going to hit the November election, right? So we have some measure ballots, right? Measure C, Measure V, Measure E. There's a lot that's going to be in that voter guide, right? So Measure C, though, it's now an official filed opposition, and there's 3 of them, right, that wanted to get into the voter guide. We understand now that there is a lawsuit that is expected to be filed with the elections office against it over the refusal of the clerk not allowing one of the organizations in opposition to put their statement in the voter guide. I guess James Coos tried to do some kind of first come, first served basis when it came to that, and one of them was left out. So Measure C, though, I mean, this has become so contentious. I know your final vote was let's approve it and let the voters decide. Yeah. But could these opposition statements and now this so-called lawsuit that's expected to happen, could it derail Measure C?
Well, I think what would, it hints that Measure C could be derailed. Just the opposition statement or a lawsuit's not going to do it. It's what do the voters make their decision based on in November, right? So if $200,000 or $300,000 is raised, I do believe it could be threatened. It's got a high bar at 66.6%. It's got a hit. That's a high bar. It does poll fantastically, but at the same time, if people are willing to dump money in it, you never know what's going to happen.
I agree with that. I mean, I've seen the polling, it's very strong, says it will pass. This will be a test of the opponents, who are primarily social justice groups, and we'll see, do they represent a lot of people or do they just represent themselves? Because if this passes, that definitely would be a huge defeat for these community groups.
Yeah, and real quick, just to kind of punctuate that, I mean, we know that Measure C can get on the ballot a couple more times. So if it is defeated, it's not necessarily defeated completely, but are we worried that if it is defeated that it wouldn't never make it? Is that the fear?
There's a big fear of that, and I'll tell you why. This was kind of like our last best chance to bring both political sides together and make sausage like we always talk about, right? And if that doesn't work, then I think you might see more likely to see competing measures in the future. One that's more based on transit and bike lanes and sidewalks, and one that's more based on roads. It might have more of a competition between two measures rather than a compromise for one.
All right, guys, we're going to end it there. Bill McEwen, Steve Brandow, appreciate the time. Okay, gentlemen.